Hello class, my name is Sheree Keller and welcome to my ethnographic study presentation. I chose to do my ethnographic study on my husband's business. His name is Dr. Keller and he owns Nampa Smiles Dentistry here in Nampa, Idaho. Just a little bit of background about the business. He started in 1993 as a single doctor practice. He purchased a small 3-chair dental practice from a retiring dentist. And now just to show you what the business looks like today. The pictures on the wall there show all of the staff members. They currently employ 4 dentists, over 25 staff members, and they operate out of 14 dental chairs. The business actually has 2 waiting rooms, one for adults and one for children. And there's actually a full state-of-the-art classroom as part of the building, which is used for training staff. And as we'll see later, that's actually consistent with the core values that the practice is built on. Back in the beginning, Dr. Keller managed all of the affairs of the office, but as you can see, it's grown considerably. And so he now has an executive team which helps to oversee the management of the office. So just to introduce you quickly to the executive team from left to right, in the picture there, we have the assistant team leader. Her name is Jill. The front office team leader, her name is Rindy. Next to her is the office manager, Kelly. And then on the far right is the hygiene team leader, Brandon. So you can see that structurally the business is organized into 3 teams, and those teams are overseen by Kelly and then Dr. Keller. Several years ago, Dr. Keller took his executive team on a field trip and challenged them with the task of coming up with a mission statement for the business. And they worked together for a couple of days, and what they came up with can be summarized by this acronym, CRAPE, and that stands for Creating Exceptional Patient Experiences. And so this is the reason, purpose, and focus for everything that they do within the business. In order for them to create exceptional patient experiences, Dr. Keller has focused and centered the practice on 2 core values of helping and teaching. And as we'll see throughout the presentation, those values of we help and we teach apply not only to helping and teaching patients, but also to the staff members as they learn to help and teach each other. So for the research questions of my study, I wanted to focus on number 1, how is the mission statement communicated among staff members? In other words, is CRAPE explicitly stated in their meetings or as they talk to each other? Just how is that communicated internally among the staff members? Secondly, how are the core values communicated among staff members? Again, are the words we help and we teach, are those explicitly mentioned as they communicate with each other? Is it more implied in their behavior? And lastly, as a result of the study, I was hoping to answer the question, how could Nampa Smiles improve in communicating the mission and core values to its staff? The methods used were naturalistic observations, primarily from the waiting room. I sat and observed casually conversations. That's kind of a hub of the office. You see people there from the front office team, the hygiene team, the assistant team, and even the doctors pass through. I also functioned as a participant observer, primarily in the meetings of the executive team. I tried to be just a natural observer, but found myself being included in some of the discussions and asked some questions to which I solicited my answers. So found myself becoming a participant in some level in those meetings. Also, I conducted 7 interviews. I interviewed all 4 members of the executive team, and then I randomly selected 1 member from each team to get their perceptions on the mission and the values. So the findings of the study, to answer the first question, how is CRAPE communicated? In sitting in the meetings and through the interview process, I found a pattern in that CRAPE is referred to explicitly, especially among the leadership of the office, as they form their decisions. For example, just before I started the research project, the executive team had met in order to determine what their focus point should be for the following year. And Kelly said that as they had brainstormed and had many options on the wall, she turned it around and asked them, how does that affect CRAPE? The front office team leader said that that's always at the forefront of her mind. She asked her team quite frequently, how is that going to affect the vision? And she even pointed out that it changes a lot of things when you put the vision at the forefront. And then in a meeting that I was observing with the hygiene team leader, they were discussing payment options for patients, and a quote from the hygiene team leader, "We want something that makes sense to the patients." And so all three of these are examples of how the vision is explicitly referred to in the decision-making process. I also found the pattern of communicating CRAPE explicitly to staff members in their one-on-one interviews with their team leaders. As an example, the assistant team leader said that when she meets one-on-one with her assistants, she'll ask them, how is this creating that exceptional patient experience? And in particular with her, she has a lot of team members who are always learning new skills. And so she motivates them by asking, how would you learning this or implementing this affect the patient experience? As another example, the hygiene team leader shared a story of recently a hygienist who had been offended by one of the doctors. She felt that she had been asked to do something in her appointment that she didn't have time for. And so in his one-on-one meeting with her, he said that he used the mission and values to frame a correction of her behavior. So again, explicitly referenced in their one-on-one meetings. Now switching over to how the core values are communicated, I found that the words "we help" and "we teach" were not explicitly referred to as much, but it was definitely implied by the discussion and the behaviors of the leadership team as they met. So for example, here are some quotes by the office manager coming out of one of their executive team meetings. In referring to a new hire, she said, "I need to set up an orientation with her." In referring to an assistant, she said, "We need to help her learn Dentrix. She needs a mentor." Which, by the way, there is a mentor program at the office. The younger assistants are paired with a more experienced assistant, and the mentor program is an artifact of the core value of helping and teaching in the office. In addition, in referring to someone who had recently been moved up front, she said, "I need to get training videos to Rachel." So again, implied helping and teaching among the staff. Again, here's the hygiene team leader who said in a meeting, "We need to train the hygienist to use probes." He was referring to some new equipment that they had recently acquired. And here's the front office team leader again referring to specific individual staff members who I found to be referred to by name on multiple occasions. She says, "I need to spend more time with Cynthia. I need to help her figure things out." I also found evidence of the core values being communicated implicitly in the behavior of the staff members to each other. Here are quotes from my random interviews from random team members. A hygienist said that she wants the other hygienist to ask her for help. She said, "Don't be embarrassed to ask me again. I don't want them to feel that they're bothering me." So again, feeling very comfortable with helping and teaching her colleagues. A front staff member shared this experience. She said, I feel very comfortable asking my colleagues for help. I can say, I still don't get it. Can you show me? And they will show me again. The assistant that I interviewed said she feels that the younger assistants know that they have someone they can go to for help. And so again, implicit evidence of the core values of helping and teaching. To answer the third research question, how can the Nampa Smiles team improve in communicating? I found a common theme in the responses that the staff felt that the newer hires or the younger, less experienced staff members did not have the values and the mission as at the forefront of their minds. So, for example, the hygiene team leader shared that everyone on his team would be able to say what the vision and the values are, except for maybe their new hygienist. And the assistant team leader said that the newer assistants, the ones they've only had for a couple years, she finds they're more focused on the task and learning the task and are less able to focus on the vision and the values. So my recommendation for the Nampa Smiles teams would be to more fully embed communication of the vision and values in the new hire training. To conclude, since we have been learning this term about organizational culture, I thought it was interesting to find that the staff members themselves had a very difficult time defining or explaining what their culture is. And I feel that that's consistent with what we learned in the Shine text and probably why there are culture consultants who come out and help organizations identify their culture. It was easy for me as an outside observer to see this culture, but they had a harder time recognizing it themselves. And so to summarize, the office manager said, we definitely have a culture. I don't know if you can describe it. It's there. It's a feeling. Well, that concludes my ethnographic presentation study. Hope you enjoyed it and best of luck.